You can't go wrong with tacos. La Juanita's, specifically Lamar's, smack it.
Just a normal steak and cheese burrito. The restaurant I always go to is Robles.
Chicken quesadilla.
Tacos.
I like beans and rice tacos and everything Mexican.
Restaurants you go to a lot.
Wawa's.
Face House.
Burritos. La Morena.
Tacos, Robles.
Chicken enchiladas. Mi Familia in South Sioux a lot.
I like the quesadilla rica. I get that at Mi Familia because it's delicious.
Gordita. Mi Familia or Robles.
Is the burrito at Robles. Mi Familia on occasion, but a lot of times we go through the drive-through at Robles.
Honestly, white boy here, right? Goulet, whatever. I like a steak and cheese burrito. Very plain, a little bit of hot sauce on it, but yeah. Mi Familia or Robles. Taquero. Yeah.
Welcome to Cardinal Talk. I'm your host for this week, Samantha. We now turn to a story about our teachers by Ashley.
I became a teacher just because I really enjoyed working with kids, getting them to believe in themselves and find something that they want to be good in and find a way to help them succeed in life.
Man, when I was a junior in high school, I took TA, teacher assistant with Mr. Kruger and Mr. Krychek, and I loved it. I've always liked the trade industry, but the opportunity to interact with different people and give them that pathway is pretty special, so I just bought in.
Year as an athletic trainer was a lot of learning. I think college does prepare you well no matter what profession you go into, but you always learn more from hands-on experience. So actually dealing with people, dealing with injuries, working with doctors and coaches, that taught me a lot.
It was a class at Briarcliff. I was working with some year 19 students as part of a sports management major, and ended up changing my major after taking this class and just getting the opportunity to work with some students. Had a lot of fun. Felt that it was my calling to give back in any way that I could. So,
laid off from Gateway because everybody was getting laid off from Gateway Computers, and then I got laid off from another job. And I thought about teaching before, and since I needed employment, I decided to take a look into it. And there was a good program at Morningside for people like me who couldn't do student teaching for free for a while, and so I did that and became a teacher.
I became a teacher because I wanted to coach, and when I went to college I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with my life, to be honest with you, and I went through 2 years of college with an undeclared major, and then they told me after my sophomore year at USD that I had to declare a major or I couldn't come back, and so I decided I wanted to coach, and I thought teaching would be a good way to do that. Couldn't come back, and so I decided I wanted to coach, and I thought teaching would be a good way to do that.
I needed a math teaching job, and there was one available, and it's close to Sioux City where I live.
Have you ever taught anywhere else?
Yes. First year I taught at Newcastle and Why Not. I taught at one school one day and the other school the next day. I taught all the same kids via closed circuit TV every day. I taught all the same kids on closed circuit TV, which was different. Also, I was the only math teacher at both schools, so it was kind of good because nobody told me stuff I needed to do that I didn't want to. On the other hand, there was nobody to ask questions to. So it was partially good and partially me figuring out how to teach all by myself.
I student taught here 8-9 years ago, I think, with Mrs. Odell, our principal now, and it was ever since I student taught here, it was kind of my goal to get back here and teach. I enjoyed my experience student teaching, and I'm fortunate enough that my wife teaches here, and we want to grow in this district and put our children through the district as well.
Sports athlete, but I like being involved and around sports, so that was kind of an avenue for me to work with sports. And then when I had the opportunity to come down to the weight room 5 years ago, it was just some kind of a new challenge for me, but it was really neat because now I get to work with healthy people all the time and try to get them stronger and increase their level of competitiveness and things like that.
Walt Hill, Nebraska. It's about 30 miles south of here. And I started there in 1990 and 1991. and then I came here in 1992. Teaching at Walt Hill was really busy because it's a smaller school. And I think my biggest class had like 14 or 15 kids in it. But I taught, as I recall, 6 different classes, including Spanish, which I didn't speak. So that was interesting. Here at the high school, so I started teaching in South Sioux in 1992, and I was there, I think, for 11 years-ish. And then in 2003, the entire district went through a big change, and they added on to Cardinal and built the new Harney building. And when that happened, then all of the elementary schools, which were kindergarten through 6, became kindergarten through 5. And then the middle school, which at that time was the junior high, became a 6 through 8 building instead of a 7 through 9 building. And all of the 9th grade teachers, which is what I did at the time, came over here to the high school at that time, with the whole district shifting things around. I believe that was 2004. It was a year after this all was finished. The North Wing was finished.
Thanks, Ashley. Last week I went around and talked to a few people about the importance of voting. With the election coming up on November 3rd, we have just a few short weeks left to go. Here's what I found out about voting.
Well, registering to vote is easier now than it ever has been. The easiest thing to do is when you turn 18 and you go to the courthouse to get your full license, they will also register you to vote at the address that you use with that license. You are also able to register to vote online. It is past date. It's past the date to register for the current election in Nebraska. You had to be registered by October 13th. But for future elections, you can go in, you can do it online, or you can do it through the mail, or do it when you do your driver's license. The major requirements to vote, and this is going to be different, a little bit different on state-to-state basis, but in the state of Nebraska, you need to be 18 years old. You need to be a resident of the state that you're voting in, so you have to live in Nebraska and have something that says that. You have to be a United States citizen, so you have to be either naturalized, become a citizen, or a birthright citizen. And in some states, but not all, you can't be a felon. Most voting this year is a little different, as a lot of us know, because of COVID. But traditionally, most voting will be done at a polling place, which you'll be given or told where to go to when you register to vote. That'll be a precinct somewhere in your neighborhood. It'll be either at a school or a church or a community center that you'll go and you'll stand in line and you'll tell them who you are and you'll get your ballot and you'll vote. This year's a little different. There is a lot of mail-in ballots or vote by mail, or early voting, depending on where you are, where you can either go to your polling place a little early, or you can send your ballot in early to be counted. I think it's important to vote because I think that every American should have their say in what happens around them. From the executive office of the presidency all the way to our congressmen, our senators, all the way down to our local elections like school board. If we want to have some say in what happens, we need to get out and vote. We need to be educated before we go vote. We need to know the issues. We need to know who we support. And we need to be active. We live in a country where in some years the majority of people don't vote, and that's really sad.
Because I feel like if you vote, you have a voice in what might happen in the future. And yeah, you may think that you're just one person out of a million people, but you still have a voice and you should vote. I'm a minor, so no. But yes, hopefully one day I will vote.
No, I haven't voted before. I've always wanted to see what it looks like and see how it is, so maybe, but I'm not for sure.
Voting to me means having a say in who is running our government.
How do you prefer to vote?
I usually like to go to the polling place and actually write in my ballot. But this year I'm going to go ahead and mail it in. Well, I think it's both a right and a responsibility for us to vote. It gives us a chance to participate in our government and let people know what your ideas are and let them be heard.
Hi, I'm here with Miss Van der Zijden, and I'm going to ask her some questions about voting. What does voting mean to you?
Voting gives me a chance to have a say with what happens in our government and who I want our leaders to be. Usually I prefer to vote in person, but with the pandemic, I will be voting by mail. This is really one of the only ways that you have a strong say in what leaders are elected. So it's important to take it seriously and get out and vote.
So go out and vote when you can.
Now on to birthdays for the week. Happy birthday, Cardinals. Now for an update on sports. Join us tonight at 7 p.m. to see our football team in action against Gross. That is all for this Friday. Be sure to tune in next week. I'm your host, Samantha, and as always, go Cards.